Welcome to the Top 7 at 7 on the 7th being the 7th of February 2023 for this new feature. Each month at 7 PM on the 7th, we will produce a video using this metric. Today, we look at the top 7 album openers of the 2010s. The 2010s were a decade of great fecundity for metal. For a while, it looked like deathcore and djent would be the new torchbearers for heavy music in pop culture, while the mainstays of extreme metal, namely death metal and black metal, continued to embrace experimentation. We started the era with the big metal labels snapping up everything with a Meshuggah influence and searching for the next Gojira. Mastodon, Opeth, Lamb of God, Converge, and the Dillinger Escape Plan entered this new decade as the kings of the previous one, and all but the latter survived and continued to thrive. New gods earned their way into the pantheon of the immortals in the 2010s after years of development, Behemoth being the most notable example. We also saw the return of some legendary names after many years of inactivity, with Carcass, Faith No More, Possessed, and Atheist making triumphant returns. Nowhere experienced more innovation than in the borderless field of progressive metal. Between the Buried and Me achieved legendary status, Periphery, Tesseract, and Haken emerged as new invigorating forces, and even Tool produced a record at the tail end of the decade. And, of course, thrash metal experienced another strong decade, with all the legendary artists releasing material at some point. The influence of metallic hardcore informed much of the finest heavy music of this decade, but the biggest developments were the intrusion of dissonant guitar puzzles into death metal, the black metal angle on everything from doom to hardcore and thrash, countless experiments with time signature quandaries in most extreme genres, and the surprise influence of shoegaze on many darker forms of metal. So what were the top 7 album openers of this fertile period for the genre? These are the Scream Blast Repeat favourites of the 2010s. At number 7, we start with an old school name with a justified entry in this chart. The artist is Prong, and the song is Eternal Heat from their 2012 album, Carved into Stone. Though starting as a crossover band and setting the benchmark for industrial groove metal in the 1990s, Prong are at the best when playing thrash metal. 1990's Beg to Differ is the quintessential album of the third wave of thrash, and it looked like it'd be the one that defined their glorious headbanging days when they hit a rough patch in the 2000s with 2 mediocre records. But they returned with new vigour and a new purpose in 2012 with their sensational comeback LP, Carved into Stone. Here, frontman and guitarist Tommy Victor proved once more that nobody frets a pinch harmonic or palm mutes the lowest guitar string with as much precision as he. Nowhere is this more evident than on album opener Eternal Heat, with its stunning interplay of drum fill mania and fluttering string picking techniques. And, of course, Tommy's gruff, mid-range vocals have a Jazz Coleman bite to the New York belligerents to deepen the gurn on your face as you reach for the air guitar. At number 6, we leave the USA for the Old World and the former capital of the global textile trade in the northwest of England. The artist is Sludge, and the song is War Squids from their 2018 album, Esoteric Malacology. Lancashire duo Sludge were one of the success stories of the 2010s with their stunning fourth album, Esoteric Malacology, winning universal acclaim upon its release. Those of you demoralised by Emperor's retirement as a recording artist in 2001 will find much to satiate your appetite in Sludge's blast of blackened death metal. Even more unusual is their preoccupation with the sagas of a fictitious mollusk kingdom as the themes for their albums. You can spend as much time guessing which famous metal song titles they renamed with a mollusk pun, but the intensity and technical brilliance of opener War Squids will soon disabuse you of the notion that this is a novelty band. Listen to the searing guitar chords hiss underneath a barrage of double kick patterns and epic death metal roars. 8 minutes of complex but catchy extreme metal are a fine way to start an album, and the songs that follow are just as enthralling on Esoteric Malacology. At number 5, we honour one of the greatest artists of the century who called it quits in 2017. The band is the Dillinger Escape Plan, and the song is Prancer from their 2013 album, One of Us is the Killer.
How could it all be? We never began, we never went from destroy. How could it all be? We'll never be
In hindsight, One of Us is the Killer might be the Dillinger Escape Plan's finest album in a flawless discography. If not for the emergence of Periphery in the 2010s, we might also lament how no other band comes close to filling the void left by their departure from the heavy music scene. As the second record featuring drum colossus Billy Reimer, and one of the most fraught between Ben Weinman and Greg Puciato, the group's fifth LP ramps up the murderous rage even higher than normal. How unusual then that opening song Prancer gives the illusion of grit and groove when repeat listens reveal it to be a chaotic piece of technical metal. Puciato's screams of "How could it all be? We've never been dead," just mirrors running scared, over the top of Weinman's body-slamming guitar shapes, are the closest thing this song has to a hook before the violent staccato movements and pulverizing drums steamroll through your brain. Watch the band's performance of it at the 2015 Arctangent Festival if you want a visual experience to match the visceral one. At number 4, we go back to England. The band is Tesseract and the song is Dystopia from their 2016 album Polaris.
Can't believe that you would just deny everything. You'll soon live free. Took a second warning and I said goodbye. You tainted.
Tesseract's third album had much riding on it when it came out. Vocalist Daniel Tompkins returned to the mic after sitting out 2013's Altered State LP, and the band knew they had to follow up what many considered an untouchable prog metal record. The traces of Meshuggah that defined their earlier work remained in the low tunings and guitar rhythms, but the melodious sophistication of Polaris represented a big risk at a time when every other band seemed to be going in the opposite direction. From the first slide of the string-skipping guitar riff to the subtle offbeat of the drums, you know it's Tesseract within 20 seconds of album opener Dystopia. But this is a band that never rests on their laurels, and the way Tompkins demonstrates the full majesty of his tenor range defies belief. Listen how he follows the guitars, then breaks free with an arms-to-the-sky falsetto harmony in the chorus. Every instrument here plays the optimal number of notes at the right time in the right key for the right duration. This is the moment when Tesseract became a distinctive artist, a prog metal group playing intelligent music for The Cure and Depeche Mode's audience. How they're not huge in America is baffling. At number 3, we give you proof that legends of 3 and 10 score years are still a force to be reckoned with in metal. The band is My Dying Bride and the song is And My Father Left Forever from their 2015 album Feel the Misery.
I would have given more. I tied my children to a dying horse. Stacked up against me, the bodies heaved and stank upon the
what better way to prove that the old guard from the 1990s and 2000s was still relevant in the 2010s than including in this list the English Death Doom legends My Dying Bride? Has there been a more consistent band in the annals of metal? Album number 12 was one of only two they released in the entirety of the decade, but it reminded everyone of their supreme brilliance. They might be as miserable as a lonely sailor, but let's not forget that My Dying Bride also have a riff lord in Andrew Crane to match the pathos of Aaron Stainthorpe's iconic voice. And My Father Left Forever is Stainthorpe's greatest ever vocal performance, full of finger-clenching distress and closed-heart regret, as the guitarists thrash at their instruments and alternate tempos when the mood demands a sharp caress of the violin. How many artists have tried to emulate the My Dying Bride sound over the years? None can match their expert calibration of epic metal and sorrowful serenading. At number 2, we go to France for one of the defining artists of the last 20 years. The band is, of course, Gojira, and the song is Explosia from their 2012 album L'Enfant Sauvage. Few best-of polls from the first 2 decades of the 21st century will omit Gojira, and we couldn't ignore the French group's sensational 2012 album L'Enfant Sauvage. How this experimental death metal band ended up as one of the biggest selling artists of 2021 with their last album should be a case study for other metal groups. On the surface, it seems obvious now. Titanic riffs, rolling grooves, heroic vocal strains, technical drums, spacious structures, and environmental and humane lyrical themes. But this is a band that eschew choruses, avoid guitar solos, and use screaming vocals in their songs. Track number 1 on L'Enfant Sauvage is a prime candidate for the finest song in their catalogue. Listen to the crunch of the opening guitar chugs as they make way for Mario Desplantier to introduce the head-spinning riff with a monstrous drum fill. Joe Desplantier seeds down the microphone like an enraged steward of a dying forest as he slides his plectrum against his strings and palm mutes over the bridge of his guitar as if possessed by the spirit of a pagan deity. At 6 minutes and 39 seconds, Explosia explores the emotions of rage, grief, recovery, and rebirth in a cycle of colossal guitar riffs and varying tempos. You can imagine the adrenaline this generates on the live stage for band and audience alike. This brings us to number 1 for the group that redefined prog metal in the 2010s. The band is Periphery, and the song is Reptile from their 2019 album Periphery 4, Hail Stan.
You had your day, but you pissed it away. I think it's time to waste our ways. Now shed that violence all over. Let mayhem in the streets. Whoa. From mountaintop to oceans, bring on your every need. There's coming down. With every breath that we take, we hear the sound. Somebody needs a reaction to stay on the ground. With every breath that we take, we hear
It's unusual to have a song that doubles and even trebles the length of every track in this list of 7. But did any other new band leave their mark on the 2010s like Periphery? They released 6 albums, influenced countless imitators, and introduced the heaviest dose of brutality and complexity into prog metal since Meshuggah came onto the scene in the mid-1990s. At over 16 minutes, the opening track from 2019's Periphery 4 masterpiece is like an album within an album, and it goes out of its way to include everything you love. Chunky riffs, double kick grooves, polyrhythms, blast beats, pinch harmonics, screaming vocals, rock opera segments, epic chorus repeats, classical orchestrations, brooding post-rock tangents, and long, non-repeating rhythms of mind-boggling complexity. This is the sound of 5 musical maestros pulling in the same direction, challenging each other's ability levels, and remembering the listener in the process. From Spencer Sotelo sensational anthemic piledriver choruses to Matt Halpern's mathematical drum grooves, you can see, hear, and read a future dystopian story unfolding in front of you as the metallic guitars thrust through your headphones like the after effects of a steroid boost. You can experience the highs, the lows, the obsessions, the contemplations, and the gratification of unleashing your inner demons and connecting with your higher state of consciousness in one song. Prog metal will never be the same again. That concludes our list. We hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know who we missed, just in case. These are the 7 honourable mentions. Forever by Code Orange from their 2016 album of the same name. Anger Breeds Contempt by Immortal Bird from their 2019 album Thrive on Neglect. Outlander by Ginger from their 2014 album Cloud Factory. Hardwired by Metallica from their 2016 album Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Tree of Suffering Souls by Triptychon from their 2014 album Milana Kazmata. Matrafoggy by Venom Prison from their 2019 album Samsara. And Lightning and Snow by Woods of Eep from their 2013 album Woods 5, Grey Skies and Electric Light. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, and, more importantly, please visit our website at www.screenblastrepeat.com for the latest album and EP reviews from established, up-and-coming, and unsigned artists in the worlds of extreme metal, prog, and dark alternative.